We had about 4,000 people sign up for the game. And then we drove 1.7 million in pipeline, which was also massive for us. I think that ended up being about a 40x ROI for us.
Wow.
40x, yeah, because we had a sponsorship strategy as well. So that helped us with distribution and with getting educational component built into it as well.
Wow.
And of course, offsetting the costs.
40x, yeah. I mean, I would sign up for 40x all day long.
This is Revenue Makers, the podcast by 6 Sense, investigating successful revenue strategies that pushed companies ahead.
All right, Sima, It's time to outwit, outplay, and outlast.
What? Oh, you're trying to be clever again because of today's guest.
I'm not trying to be clever. I am clever. Okay. Maybe not. Anyway, today's going to be fun. We've got a deep dive into a pretty amazing campaign.
That's right. Mutiny, a really powerful website personalization tool, recently completed their Survivor, or rather Survivor with AR, AI mixed into it.
Surv-ai-vor.
Survive, yeah.
Yeah. So Molly Bruckman's their head of growth, and she's joining us to talk through this really creative concept, how they built it, the results, and just everything around it. And I'm just really looking forward to taking this down and really digging in deep. Am I ready for it?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, here we are. That was a really bad start. Here we go.
Welcome, Molly.
Thank you guys so much. I'm so excited to be here. I love any opportunity to hang with the 6 Sense team.
Oh, well, that's really kind.
Wow.
I hear you were hanging with Adam last week. You guys had a great event in New York City. But before we dive into the event, tell us a little bit about yourself. You didn't start your career in marketing, did you?
No. Is it that obvious? No. Actually, I came into marketing from math, which is an interesting angle, I think atypical, but I was a math major in school and I've always had sort of a left brain, right brain. I love the numbers. I love the quantitative side, but I'm really creative too. So my first life dream was I'll be a math teacher and I'll run the drama club at a school. That'll be what I do.
You never see that, actually. That's pretty cool.
I know. It was then I can have it all, but I'm not a morning person. So I think that would have killed me to get up at 5 a.m. and do that. And so I found my way to a marketing agency where I was an analyst. And so I was doing a lot of analysis of web data and coming up with experimentation opportunities, setting up tests, reporting on tests that I was running. And I moved from there into a consulting role where I was embedding myself in organizations and helping them build testing programs, but still from a consultant lens, and worked with some really big enterprises there, Gap, Oppenheimer Funds, BlackRock, big organizations. And then I joined Mutiny to build our CX team. So it was kind of a similar vibe of very consultative marketing advisors, but I've always sort of been a marketing adjacent. I think I've been a consultant to the marketer, always a bridesmaid, never a bride. Always a marketing consultant, never a marketer. But recently moved into marketing a quarter ago. So new to being an official marketer, whatever that means.
So, I mean, that's to be your first quarter, this to be what you did is quite just starting with kind of a rocket ship. So
crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, but it plays and it works. So can you walk the audience through? So I heard this conversation, Survivor, Survive AI, Surv-ai-vor. I don't the actual
yes.
naming, but
bad as you can sound saying it is the right way to say it.
Yeah. So let's give the world your overview of what the event was and where'd you come up with this whole idea and the game and all that? Yeah.
So the Survivor, Survivor, say it 5 times. Every time you say it, it gets better. I've always I'm a lover of games. I love board games. I love to play games. And actually, as I was building CX at Mutiny, I built gamification into a lot of the ways that we do onboarding. So we will have punch cards that customers can check off little things and give gifts and fun things along the way. We've done some really fun holiday challenge campaigns. We did a really fun March Madness campaign where we pitted customers against each other and did a whole bracket and everything. So I'm always like a big fan of gamification. I am obsessed with Duolingo. We were joking before about like if I start speaking in German, I can't really because it's more about the game than it is about the language learning, I think. But like I'm obsessed with how they're doing it. And the fact like I have more than 1,000-day streak. And I'm like, how are they doing this? How am I still here?
Oh, my daughter's right there with you with her French streak. Oh my gosh. Every morning, if we're on vacation or no matter what, we are opening up Duolingo so she can keep her streak going.
Amazing. What's her streak?
It is around the 400s, I believe. So 400 days or so, which
that's commitment.
Not so bad for a 13-year-old, I feel, to keep that attention span that long.
Totally. But I mean, at that point, you can never quit. Yeah. You're like, I'm in it and this is where I live. But I think it's also about building rituals. You said every morning, like for me, this is my morning. I like make my coffee. I do my Duolingo. I usually pace around my house and try to get 2,000 steps at the same time in the morning. So yeah, I'm a huge believer in gamification. And so the idea for Surv-ai-vor, it was around beginning of August, I think, when we started talking about this. And at the time, AI, and it hasn't changed that much, but I think especially then the perception was you have your early adopters of marketers who were saying, oh, we need to figure this out. This is important. And we had the laggards who were saying, oh God, like we're going to lose our jobs. What is this? So there's like fear and confusion. But the people who believed in it, the people who were bought into it, didn't know how. Like they're like, I know this is important. I know I need to do this, but nobody was really out there teaching how to do it. And all the content that was coming out was like, this is why it's so important. And it was all high level. It was all theoretical. And nobody was really diving into like, here's a workflow you can apply. Here's a workflow you can apply. And so we wanted to own that and really help our customers and our audience like figure it out and give them really practical things they could do. The Surv-ai-vor piece was actually like a recycled idea from a customer campaign we were going to run, which was, it was going to be like using our own AI features in Mutiny, get our customers to like compete in some way to like launch the best AI experience. And we had a bunch of graphics, but we ended up abandoning that idea. And literally in a dream, Ryan, our head of marketing, was like, we can do both. We can have it all. We can like do this AI thing, the education thing, and we can wrap it around Surv-ai-vor. And so we like brought it all together. But I'm realizing now I've been talking about it without explaining what it is. So Surv-ai-vor is a gamified learning experience for practical AI workflows. And it had kind of like a B2C style campaign incentive. And so we had a $10,000 prize pool at the start. Every person that signed up, we added $1 to the prize pool. So we could create some virality around it. And then we incentivized the different activities. So you got points for watching the episodes. There were 9 different episodes with different teachers to teach different episodes. Of course, I got 6 cents to teach ABM because that was really important. I wanted a really diverse spectrum of all of the different sectors of marketing. So we had ABM with 6 cents. I did a session on CRO with one of our customers from Pendo. We had sessions on SEO with Andy Crestodina. We had sessions on paid marketing with Sylvia Perez. So we got some of the biggest hitters that our audience really respects across the disciplines to come in and teach these different episodes. You get points for watching the episodes. Each one had a challenge at the end. You get points for completing the challenge. And then you got points for sharing on social and for driving referrals. And so that was another big kind of virality loop for us, is get people to refer their friends and post on social and bring people back in so that they can score points.
I mean, so interesting, so unique. You got some heavy hitters, the heaviest hitter of all. I know Adam was there, so I got to give him.
If I was your heaviest hitter, I have no idea how you did anything. No.
Oh, come on.
You did well.
He's modest, but I mean, it sounds great. I think, the idea is there, the kind of, you're executing against it, of course, but what were your main goals of the campaign at the end of the day? And then were there any stumbling blocks along the way that you had to really cross over?
Yeah. So pipeline, I think, was number one goal, and probably number one goal for everyone.
Always should be.
Always is.
Yep.
And we did a good job there. So do you want me to talk about results?
Yeah. I mean, we go for it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's obviously there's a lot to it, but I'd love to hear that.
Yeah. We had about 4,000 people sign up for for the game, which I think we spread over like 4 weeks from start to finish. And we started, I think, about 2,000 people, and the other 2,000 came from the players in the game referring others and bringing them in, which was pretty good. So really brought awareness there, which was amazing. And then we drove 1.7 million in pipeline, which was also massive for us. I think that ended up being about a like 40x ROI for us.
Wow.
40x, yeah, because we had a sponsorship strategy as well. So 6th Sense was one of our sponsors. We had a 6 to 10 sponsors, I think, with different packages, some including speaking spots. And so that helped us with distribution and with getting like educational component built into it as well.
Wow.
And of course, offsetting the costs.
40x, yeah. I mean, I would sign up for 40x all day long. I would just need a bunch of those. So that would be a good way to get through your year pretty quickly.
Yeah, the good thing is really easy to execute something like this.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you just we'll just do a thing. It's a game, and yeah. So, you talked a little bit about the content and the speakers that you had, but when you started, how did you sort of make that list? I mean, again, you said you had obviously had the sponsorship strategy, but were there certain disciplines, like, okay, we know we want to hit on SEO, we know we want to hit on ABM, or kind of how did that evolve to get to the full list of both the content and then ultimately the speaker?
Yeah, so we knew we wanted to have 9 episodes. It felt like meaty enough to be like a big differentiated thing. And we wanted to sort of like have daily drops. We were also very inspired by the Trivia HQ phase from a few years ago.
Oh my gosh. I was so involved in that Trivia HQ, and I won like 5 cents at the end of the day, right?
Oh, nice. Congrats. That's amazing. Yeah, so we had some ideas around that of like, can we like get text message alerts or like something like that going, which we moved a little bit away from. Actually doing like something like this daily would have been a huge commitment. So we're like Tuesday to Thursday seems pretty good, 3 a week for 3 weeks. So we mapped out like what are kind of the disciplines that we wanted to attack. The thinking was like, with AI now, like in the past, you had to be a T-shaped marketer, you had to be a domain expert in the one thing. Now with AI, you can be more of a broad marketer, right? Like you can use AI to augment some of the skills you maybe don't have or are weaker for you. And so we wanted it to be broad. We wanted it to be holistic. And so just sort of mapped out like how to use it in CRL, how to use it in paid, how to use it in creative, how to use it in content. And then we went through who are the best people we can think of to teach each of these things. So 6th Sense obviously came to mind for ABM. I got pushed into doing CRO on that side, which was fun. And yeah, just kind of looked through our network. So we were kind of looking for people who already have a lot of respect, who are good speakers, who we knew were going to be good speakers, but also had large reach so that we could, piggyback on that distribution and make sure that we can like really attract the right people. And then as soon as we locked in some of our big speakers, everything gets easier. If you're like, oh, well, Dara Trester is speaking at our kickoff or the premiere, a lot of people followed mine after that. So you asked about what went wrong. That was one of the goals initially, the premiere. What ended up being our big premiere, we kind of kicked things off with a in-person conference, 2 hours with big like CMO thought leaders to kind of have executive level conversation. That was supposed to be the finale originally, but this was like early August. That would have been October 24th, the timeline with like vacations and things like that. Just as we were about to launch the website, we're like, what if we gave ourselves 3 more weeks and we made this the premiere rather than the finale? And we sort of like had that be the big launch event and pushed everything back from there, which was immensely helpful. I don't think we would have made it happen otherwise.
Well, in the context of things going wrong in an event, I mean, that's not so bad.
Though it definitely wasn't the biggest thing that went wrong. We had a bit of an over-engineered solution that broke on us during the event. So we had some like in the first 15 minutes of the event, lots of emails coming in of people like, I can't access it. So it's we were like, oops, we broke the internet, and we stood up a second page and like pushed everybody there. But we used SQL as the like embedded video player in the website. The way SQL works, like everybody who comes in has a join code, and with 9 different events, 12 different events, depending on how you want to count it. We had some bonus episodes. We did not want to register everybody for every single event, send them 12 different registration confirmations, 12 different calendar invites. And so we wanted to make sure that we could get people who register for one, registered for all of them, get those events added to their calendar, but not like kill them with emails. And so SQL has these join codes, they have cross event registration. And so like they have that configuration already set up. The too fancy thing we decided to do was embed that join code per player within their player account into the SQL player itself, which just was like too much lookup logic. And so that's what ended up breaking the thing when people came. It would have been sufficient just to like trust the cookieing, not like panic about that. And like if somebody had to sign up again, they sign up again. It wouldn't have been the end of the world. But we were able to like really quickly, we had a backup site actually already built in case there was any issue. So we were able to just like send out that email and say, oops, we broke the internet, and pat ourselves on the back a little bit too about like, hey, a lot of people wanted to come to this.
Yeah. So quick pivot and obviously address it. You talked a little bit about this, right? Piggybacking off of some of your presenters and the reach they had. How else did you really leverage social media and community platforms to drive engagement? I mean, 4,000 people, and not just that, it's a pretty sustained campaign, right? 3 days a week for 3 weeks. Like, how did you, keep that interest going and generate some additional interest along the way?
I mean, I think the retention was actually really good. Obviously, like you have drop off event to event, but I think we had over 100 people join every single episode still, which I think is pretty good retention. And I think it's a credit to the content itself and actually being really valuable for people. And I still get, like last week, Adam was saying we were at our finale party. We did a live event, in-person events in San Francisco and New York. And people were coming up to me and asking like, is the content going away? Is it still going to be there? I didn't get a chance to watch. And so I'm like still getting a lot of people who want to catch up on these things and sharing about that. So I think content being really good was important. The broad distribution, I think, is a testament to the sponsors, the partners that we worked with, and making sure that we were on their distribution schedule. So everyone who partnered with us, we also created media sponsors. So people who have broad reach who maybe don't want to pay to sponsor, we could kind of do, partner in another way that's like, hey, if you can post a couple times or you can send this to your newsletter, you can get some of the benefits that the sponsors would get too. And then I think the point incentive and the game mechanism really, really helped. So people getting points for referrals, people getting points for sharing on social for every single challenge that they did. There was like an optional bonus way to get points by recording a Loom video of their challenge or posting on social about their challenge. And so that it kept the excitement kind of going along the way, and also gave us lots of user-generated content of them doing these challenges, which we're planning to repurpose an academy section in the future. Yeah.
Well, that was actually, I was going to ask you about just kind of repurposing the content there. So, I mean, you're having 12 episodes, you said. And then at the event that I was at last week, if you were shooting video, it sounds like this was sort of also a really good example of just, we are in it's a content waterfall, get every possible, iota of drop of content out of it. So it sounds like you probably have a plan to take you for a while in terms of all the different things that you're going to do.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of stuff we can cut up and repurpose. We're going to build it into kind of an academy within our website. We're going to have a Demand Gen Academy launching in probably early next year with an ABM Academy, a CRO Academy, an AI Academy, which is where Surv-ai-vor will live, and a Mutiny Academy for our customers. So we'll have kind of those components of it. However, I am like very conscious of like shelf life around AI. The rate of development is so rapid. I think some of the episodes are still going to be great and helpful, and some of them will probably have outpaced by that point. So I think, a lot of the ideas you shared, Adam, in your session around ABM are pretty evergreen, right? Like you're going to need to think about how to get accounts. You're going to think about the right way to engage them and those things. So like, I think that one will be a great one to live on. But I think people like talking about specific tools and things, it'll go out of date.
Yeah. We had a previous episode with somebody, and she's like, become a consultant in AI. And we actually changed, we record these things a little bit out. We reordered when to put our episode live, because it's like, okay, if we talk about this and we wait too long, it's gonna get out of hand. So yeah, I mean, AI stuff definitely has, some of it has that on it. So it's a good plan there. So you obviously would call this a success. I think there's no, I mean, on a like just unabashed success. What's next? Like, what are you thinking about in terms of, you're probably like, can I have the holidays? I'm going to rest maybe.
It's so funny. I mean, as like the first thing is set the bar pretty high for myself for like what's next for marketing. So right now we're doing like a much smaller but a Mean Girls themed campaign. So TV seems to hit for us. So we kept it there. And that's a 3-parter. So we have like how you get your seat at the revenue table. So that's like the plastics. We're calling it the plastics playbook. So get your seat at the revenue table. The second part is the burn book. So the marketing channels that burned you last year, put it in the burn book. If you guys want to contribute, feel free. And actually, maybe I should ask you, like, what are your burns? What channels didn't work for you? What programs didn't work for you? What do you burn in 2023? And take forward to 2024.
She's flipping the mic.
I know.
Yes.
On us.
Now I'm the interviewer.
The burn book. I think there are some channels that were effective, but were far too expensive in terms of being effective from a digital acquisition perspective. And then some channels that we were paid social channels that we were burned on, not because the potential isn't there, but I think we burned ourselves a little bit in terms of the type of content that we were creating. Right. So one of these might have book in the name, but I think it'd be an effective channel, but you really got to make sure you've got the right type of content for that type of channel. So those are two that are a couple that come to mind in terms of being,
paid
channel. And I would add, generally, I'm come from a similar background as you, right? Data speaks first, then we'll obviously evaluate. And so for us, we don't generally start something unless we know what we want the outcome to be, whether it's a 10x return on pipe or whatever, right? General rule. And so for us, we like to experiment. We encourage great ideas. We're always like, yeah, let's try it. Let's see if this works. But we won't let it go long forever, right? We have a measurement plan in place. We're going to quickly evaluate and say, okay, that didn't work, or let's not do that again next year. And so it's really just about, I think, iterating and learning, and then slowly adding the things that didn't work to that burn book.
Yeah. And making sure that people read the burn book next time. So like, before you repeat the mistake, let's take a look at that for us. Yeah.
Anything else, like lessons learned? If you could go back, hit the DeLorean time machine, redo something, or was it all just like
rainbows and butterflies?
You learned a lot. Rainbows, it worked, and you learned. It's like I would do it exactly the same again. I wouldn't go back, but I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, I mean, personally, like I'm like a big ideas person. I am very creative. I struggle to like plan, like detail plan, project manage. I hate it, and I'm bad at it because I hate it. I was actually the second hire at Mutiny. So I've been with Mutiny since the beginning. I've been like a one person for 5 teams kind of person. I had my old profile picture on LinkedIn was me with a bunch of hats, because that's how I've always felt, is like I'm just doing a bunch of stuff. So joining marketing felt to me like the first time I had a team to work with, versus like I've just sort of been doing a lot of things and I'd be totally on my own operating. And so actually like having other resources and thinking ahead and planning, I didn't do that well at all. And because I just was like, I don't know, I'll do everything and I don't need a plan. I'll figure it out as I go and sort of like build it as I go. Had I like slowed down, built a plan, thought about where I could get help, brought people in, maybe we would have hit that initial timeline that we'd planned for, or gotten things out earlier. I think, one of the other mistakes was there was a lot of bottlenecking with everything, because, The episodes were hosted on the game portal, and the game portal, so that would be like the link from the calendar invite. And so the calendar invite couldn't go out until the game portal was built, which meant that actually nobody had their calendar blocked until the Friday before the premiere, which was on Tuesday. So that wasn't great in terms of like how we would have wanted people to like have it on their calendars and make sure it was blocked. And some people were emailing like, should I have gotten this? But it was delayed from that view. So I would have thought through like, how do I unblock that or like get them to a link they can access even if it's still under construction without waiting for all of that.
Makes sense. We ask a question of all the guests. It is, what is the most ridiculous thing you've been asked to do in your career? Ridiculous good, ridiculous bad, doesn't matter. But just something that when you heard it, you were like, WTF? Okay.
Oh, the first thing that came to mind was something that I did to myself, which seems like that shouldn't count. But actually my first job, like on paper with the government, was I was a mascot for a minor league baseball team. I was 14 years old. I was 5 feet tall. I shared this costume with like 6 feet tall, sweaty teenage boys because like on different nights, it was different people. It was so disgusting. It smelled horrible. Like I could not get the stench off of me for days after I'd like wear this thing. I couldn't move in it. One of my responsibilities was a base race where like I would race a kid from the audience around the bases. I could not move in this costume. So like usually the mascot would have to like pretend to trip and let the kid win. It was embarrassing. It was like the kid was already home and I was like out of breath on second trying to move in a costume that didn't fit me. So that was a very bad choice, but I think speaks to my grit because I did not quit. They changed the requirements the next year. You had to be 6 feet tall.
Well, you got it out of the way early in your career, 14. That's not bad. And it's all just smooth sailing after that, right?
And everything else has been great.
Yeah. There you go. Well, I think this event for me, like having been, presenting and involved, it was really cool to see it play out. And it's amazing to hear the results. So thanks so much for kind of taking us through it. I think there's a lot of learnings. I think you probably inspired a bunch of people to be like, why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we doing something that clever? So I think there's just that B2C approach really makes a ton of sense. And I think, like I said, we're going to see a lot of really interesting things, I bet, next year. And you guys are probably some of the inspiration for it. So really great job. And thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me.
You've been listening to Revenue Makers.
Do you have a revenue project you were asked to execute that had wild success? Share your story with us at sixthsense.com/revenue. We might just ask you to come on the show.
And if you don't want to miss the next episode, be sure to follow along on your favorite podcast app.